Yeah, we are Shabbat Shalom. We are in Shabbat. We are in Bamidbar. This thing we've been saying this for the last 2 weeks. It's not called Numbers. It's called Bamidbar. In the wilderness. In the wilderness. And I was saying a couple of weeks ago, we really get going in this portion now. The last couple of weeks have been arranging the camps, counting the amount of people, doing all that, swapping Levites for the firstborn. And it gets going tonight. This journey starts tonight properly into the wilderness. It's the camp set out. And it turns out that rather than taking, it says in Deuteronomy, it was 11 days the trip should have took. 11 days. And it takes them another 38 years. Another 38 years of wandering in the wilderness. Because tonight we'll see the complaining starts tonight. The complaining starts tonight. And it'll go on next week. And the week after. And this is a disaster. And this is the history. This is why this generation did not enter the promised land. So they'll set out tonight, but they will not get there for 38 years. It's chapter 8 of Bamidbar, and the portion is called Beha'alotcha. Don't ask me to start spelling that. Beha'alotcha. And it's about second verse says, chapter 8 verse 1, Jehovah spoke to Moshe saying, speak to Aaron and say to him, when you arrange the lamps, Beha'alotcha, when you lift up the lights. The 7 lamps shall give light in front of the lampstand, the menorah. And Aaron did so. He arranged the lamps to face toward the front of the lampstand, as Jehovah commanded Moshe. Now this workmanship of the lampstand was hammered gold, from its shaft to its flowers. We've done all the menorah and all the pictures of it, all them beautiful almonds, flowers and everything. Beautiful. It was hammered work, according to the pattern which Jehovah had shown Moshe, so he made the lampstand. So that's the first bit about the lampstand. I don't know what we're going to cover tonight. I don't know, I never do. But last year's recording is our debut. It's our anniversary tonight of going on YouTube with a film thing, with a video. So last year's version of this, watch it, because we only covered the first few chapters and really got stuck into it. So it's worth watching that, and I'll probably try and skip over the first bit to get to the last bit, because last year we didn't even cover the last bit, which is chapter 11, when the complaining starts. So let's get through the first parts. So what I'll do is, we've just mentioned this, the lamps, the menorah, and it says in Psalm 119, verse 105, your word is a lamp unto my feet and a light unto my path. That's what it says, isn't it? His word is a lamp unto our feet and a light unto our path. So we can see that the menorah is a picture of the word, because it says it, doesn't it? Your word's a lamp. So that's easy. Proverbs chapter 6 verse 23 says, the commandment is a lamp and the Torah is a light. That's clear, isn't it? The commandment's a lamp and the Torah is a light. So we can see that the menorah is a good representation of the word, of the Torah, of the commandments. That's fair from the scriptures, isn't it? Well, let's go to chapter 10. Might be doing a bit of this tonight. Just do chapter 10 now. Some of you remember this from last year. And Yah, chapter 10, verse 1, Yah spoke to Moshe, saying, make 2 silver trumpets. These aren't the ram's horns, like this. These are silver trumpets. Silver always speaks of redemption, doesn't it? Yeshua was sold for 30 pieces of silver. So it's a lot to do with redemption, this. Make 2 silver trumpets for yourself. You shall make them of hammered work, like the menorah. You shall use them for calling the congregation and for directing the movement of the camps. Verse 3 of chapter 10. When they blow, tacha. Remember we've done this, Psalm 47. Clap your hands, all you people. Same word. So we can see that the clapping of our hands is like the blowing of the shofar. We are his shofars in that respect. We can clap our hands, we can shout with our mouths. And so these trumpets are for when they blow both of them, all the congregation shall gather. That's a great word, gather. It's the word ya'ad, and you see it used in Exodus chapter 21, when Moses is talking about if a man is betrothed to a woman, and the word for betrothed is ya'ad, same word. So when he's saying here about gathering the assembly at the door, it's got a betrothal element to this. Can you see? Intimacy, but we can see that Yeshua, that's why he is always the bridegroom. This whole deal is about the creator of the universe wanting a people to be his bride. And so even this gathering has got wedding written all over it. Betrothal. It's a betrothal occasion. So when you're thinking of what Paul's writing about, that he's going to come with the sound of a shofar and this great shout, it's all of this going on. He's coming for a wedding. And that's why we are Boi Kallah, trying to always proclaim the bridegroom's coming and the bride's got to get ready. The bride's got to get ready. The bride's got to start taking this seriously and knowing the times we are in. We'll come to that again later, I think. Verse 4, but if they blow only one, then the leaders, the heads of the divisions of Israel shall gather to you. That's interesting. They only blow once, just the leaders gather. I don't know if that's got any end time significance, because I don't believe that everyone will be getting gathered. I believe the wise virgins will be getting gathered. The foolish virgins won't be. For a time, let's put it that way. So I'll just leave that with you. Verse 5, when you sound the advance, the teruah, this is now, when you sound the teruah, you've heard of Yom Teruah, the day of blowing. So it's when you sound that one. That's the one with the staccato sort of 9 blasts. That's that advance. When you sound that advance, the camps that lie on the east side shall then begin their journey. When you sound the advance, verse 6, the second time, then the camps that lie on the south side shall begin their journey. They shall sound the call, again, taka, teruah, for them to begin their journeys. And when the assembly is to be gathered together, you shall blow, but not sound the advance. The sons of Aaron, the priests shall blow the shofar, the trumpets, and these shall be to you as an ordinance forever throughout your generations. Let me just read this from Joel chapter 2. Joel chapter 2, I'm going to just read quick, so if we can't keep up, just listen. Joel chapter 2 verse 15 says this: blow the shofar in Zion, consecrate a fast, call a sacred assembly. That's what this is all about. Gather the people, it's this language. Sanctify the congregation, assemble the elders, gather the children and nursing babes. Look, let the bridegroom, see what I'm on about here? It's all to do with the bridegroomness. Let the bridegroom go out from his chamber, and the bride from her dressing room. That's where the bride should be, in her dressing room, getting ready. The bride shouldn't be anywhere else but in the dressing room now, getting ready. Look at this, verse 17. Let the priests, that's what this said, this is an ordinance for priests. Well, I don't know how many times I say this, we are priests, aren't we? I mean, every single person who is in the covenants is a priest. Not a special elect group of people, not a certain class of people. It's everyone who is in this covenant is a priest. And we'll look at that again maybe later. We looked at it a couple of weeks ago when there was clearly a swap, wasn't it? When God said clearly, look, when I brought you out of Egypt, all of the firstborn I wanted to be priests. But now, because of that sin of the golden calf, now it's changing. And now it's not going to be a nation of priests anymore. It's going to be a nation with a special class of priests called the Levites, the sons of Aaron in particular. They're the only priests under that covenant. But this is a new covenant. That was an old covenant. It tells us that in Hebrews it was weaker. It wasn't the covenant that we're part of, because We are priests now. That's what Peter's teaching, isn't he? You are a royal priesthood. You are a spiritual priesthood. And we have to get this, you know. That's why I keep saying it so much. We have to get this understanding that we are priests. That is our job. That is who we are. We can't be who we're called to be if we don't understand priesthood. Is that all right? Because that's clear from Joel. Let the priests, that's us, who minister to Yah, this is what he wants them to do. Weep. Let them weep between the porch and the altar. Let them say, spare your people, O Yah, and do not give your heritage to reproach, that the nations should rule over them. Why should they say among the peoples, where's their God? Well, they won't be saying that. They won't be saying that when God starts to fight on behalf of Israel and destroy Israel's enemies. We're going to see it. We've seen it. We've been seeing it. I mean, Iran got humiliated about 2 weeks ago, didn't it? And they tried to fire rockets at Israel. And not one of them even entered the boundaries. Wow. I mean, not one rocket got through the border. And then they got annihilated, didn't they? Their weapons and their troops got decimated. Why should they say, where is their God? Well, let the priests start to do this now. Weep. Weep between the porch and the altar. Because look what it says in verse 18. Once the priests start to do that, then Yahovah will be zealous for his land and pity his people. That's what we want, eh? So as priests, help us, Lord. You said in Zechariah 12 in these final days that you would pour out your spirit of grace and supplication. And so as your royal priesthood, please do that with us, Lord. Help us to be a faithful and effective priesthood in these days that does what your word tells us to do. Amen. Back to the Torah, Bamidbar, Numbers chapter 10. Verse 9. When you go to war in your land against the enemy who oppresses you, then you shall sound an alarm with the trumpets, and you will be remembered before Jehovah, your Elohim, and you will be saved from your enemies. Now we start to understand. Last year we put a picture up, and it was a picture of the Arch of Titus. Remember? The Arch of Titus, built in the year 82 or thereabouts, by the Emperor Domitian, in honour of his brother, the General Titus. And the General Titus is the one who destroyed Jerusalem, wasn't he? He's the one who destroyed the temple. And I am made up about this bit, that they recorded it in stone. It's there today, some glossy little archway. But in that arch, carved in stone for the last 2,000 years, is the record of Rome carrying away the menorah and these two silver trumpets. So we've already mentioned the menorah, now we've mentioned the trumpets, and if any of you go to Rome or get the picture up, have a look at the Arch of Titus, and there's a picture of Rome taking away the menorah and the trumpets. So I've already said, what's the menorah a picture of? It's a picture of the Torah. The commandment is a lamp, and your Torah is a light. So the menorah is a picture of the Torah. And the trumpets, what are they for? It said, let's just carry on. Verse 10. Also in the day of your gladness, in your appointed feasts. That's what the trumpets are for. And at the beginning of your months, when the new moon is sighted, you shall blow the trumpets over your burnt offerings and over the sacrifices of your peace offerings, and they shall be a memorial for you. They'll be a memorial for you before your God. I am Yahovah, your Elohim. So trumpets are a picture of signaling the times. They are to announce the appointed times. That's what it says, isn't it? So when you see Rome carrying away the menorah and carrying away the trumpets, they are doing what Daniel chapter 7 says. So let me just read Daniel chapter 7.
Are you speaking? I was thinking,
Yeah, well this is right. Daniel chapter 7. This is clear. Daniel chapter 7, it's talking about this beast that's going to arise, this antichrist character and the system that he will set up. This is what they're going to do. It's Daniel chapter 7 verse 25. He will speak pompous words against the Most High, and he will persecute the holy ones, the saints of the Most High, and this is the point, shall intend to change times and the Torah. Yeah. This is the tactics of the devil. The enemy wants to take away the Torah and take away the appointed times. And that's what he has done in religion, hasn't he? Religion, churches who are religious, they have let the Torah go, haven't they? Yeah. And they've even got doctrines for it, saying it was nailed to a cross. It's crazy. It's pathetic. It's not even worth discussing. It's just nonsense. But this is what religion has inherited. And religion has forsaken the feasts and the appointed times of the Creator, haven't they? Religion has replaced God's holy times with man-made times, haven't they? They've replaced God's times with man-made times, and they have done exactly what Daniel 7:25 said would happen. And Rome is a picture of that, when they carried away the menorah representing the Torah and carried away the trumpets representing the times. Can you see what Rome has done? And can you see why I hate religion so much? Because it's not holy at all. God's word's holy and God's ways are holy, and man-made ways aren't holy. Even if you do wear mad clothes, mad hats and cross yourself, it's not holy at all. Christmas is not holy. Easter is an abomination. And the first day of the week is not the Sabbath. It's a great day though. It's a fantastic day. It's the day Yeshua ascended. But it's not the Sabbath. Rome, the devil, have changed the times and took away the Torah, exactly as God said would happen. So that's that bit. I wanted to mention that because I love that bit. Great. Let's go back to chapter 8. Let's go back to chapter 8. That's the trumpets done. A lot more we could say about that, but that's enough for now. Let's get back to chapter 8 and verse 5. Chapter 8, verse 5. Yeah. Then Jehovah spoke to Moses, saying, take the Levites from among the children of Israel and cleanse them ceremonially. This is not the priests now. We've already done the priests, the sons of Aaron. This is the rest of the Levites who are getting ordained to do the work at the tabernacle. And we've read about that. Certain ones had to pack away certain things and carry certain things. And so this is the Levites being ordained for their ministry now, not the priests. So they have to go through their cleansing. Let me just skip through a bit of this. Let's go to verse 16, because we've already mentioned this. For they are holy, the Levites, verse 16, they are wholly given to me. From among the children of Israel, I have taken them for myself. We covered this the other week in chapter 3, and here Yah is repeating it again. Instead of all who open the womb, the firstborn of all the children of Israel. There's a change that's took place here. Can you see that? It's a change, hasn't it? Now the Levites are the priests, and the Levites are the ones who do the work of the tabernacle. It wasn't meant to be this way. Shalom, bro. How are you? Nice to see you. Get yourself a drink or anything. So you can see that this is a swap, and we've done this the other week. And Joan, who's not with us tonight, God bless Joan and Anne and all of our other friends that watch us. And she came up at the end and she was delighted because I think a penny dropped and seeing what Hebrews is teaching us here. Because Hebrews is all about this. Hebrews is teaching us. Let's read it. I don't know where we go in this, where we're going, but we need to read these things. Hebrews chapter 12. To make sense of this, Last time I read from Hebrews chapter 7. I'll just read that bit first. Just for the sake of time, I'm cracking on. Hebrews chapter 7. Therefore, this is talking about a change back to the way it always should have been. Therefore, if perfection were through the Levitical priesthood, for under it the people received the law, what further need was there that another priest should arise according to the order of Melchizedek, and not be according to the order of Aaron? For the priesthood being changed, there is of necessity also a change in the law, in the Torah. Now that is not a change to no Torah, which is what religion has told us. That's not what it's saying. It's telling us here that the Levitical priesthood and the Levitical system has been changed now. There's no need for a special class of people who are the sons of Aaron to be priests anymore. And there's no need for this daily animal sacrifices. God's been clear about it. I don't delight. I'm not buzzing with all the blood of bulls and goats. It's not what I'm after. No, it had to be this way. Because of the sin of the golden calf, God was about to destroy Israel. He said to Moses, Moses, if you leave me now, I'm going to wipe these out. I'm going to wipe them all out. I'm going to start again with you if you leave me. Moses got on it and went, sound, I won't go anywhere then. Because if I get off now, by the time I get down the bottom of the mountain, they'll all be dead. So I'm not going anywhere. I'll stay and I'll pray and I'll intercede. And God's like that. Sound, Moses. That's what I wanted. I was looking for a fella who would pray, who would intercede. Now I found someone who would intercede. That's why I read Joel 2. Let the priests start to pray and weep and cry out. People are going to hell. Most people are at the moment if something doesn't happen. Let the priests pray. Because we've got a better covenant now. I don't know where I was going. Oh yeah, the Levites, this swap. So that's what it says in Hebrews 7. Let's go to Hebrews 12. Hebrews 12, because this is what Joan said at the end. So I want to answer Joan and anyone else that's wondering about this. Because she sort of went, well, how are we the firstborn then? Because it was meant to be the firstborn with the priests. The firstborn with the priests, not the Levites. All the firstborn. Well, how's that us? Well, this is what it says in Hebrews 12. It says in verse 18, you have not come to the mountain that may be touched. This is talking about Sinai. You have not come to Sinai. You have not. I know we love the Torah here. We're all Torah heads. But it says in our Bible, Hebrews 12, that we have not come to Sinai. It says in verse 21, verse 22, it tells us quite clearly where we have come. Verse 22, you have come to Mount Zion and to the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem. That's where we have come. Amen. We have come to Mount Zion, the city of the living God, the heavenly Jerusalem, to an innumerable company of angels, to the festive assembly, the festal gathering, and the assembly of the firstborn. See, the priesthood is right back where it was meant to be, with the firstborn. And those of us who are born again are in the Messiah, and he is the firstborn. So that's what qualifies us to be priests. We're in the firstborn. Does that make sense? I hope so. But meditate on it, seek these things out. But that's what that's on about when God's saying, I've took the Levites instead. Now it's back. Just like Hebrews 7 says, when there's a change in the priesthood, there's a change in the Torah. That doesn't mean the Torah's done away with. That just means the Levitical priesthood, the Levitical law, that is finished. We have not got to approach God in that way anymore, because Yeshua has done it once for all. It's what it says, isn't it? He has offered himself once for all. His blood has made the way, and so we do not have to come like Levitical priests daily with animals anymore. That was always pointing to the Messiah. Exactly what you read on Galatians on Sunday night. that this was all to bring us to the Messiah, to teach us about what the Messiah was going to do, that he was going to die, that he was going to shed his blood, all what we've been through in Leviticus 5. All right, amen. Let's just carry on. Verse 19, or verse 18, I have taken the Levites, this is chapter 8, verse 18, I have taken the Levites instead of the firstborn of the children of Israel, and I have given the Levites as a gift. Yah is saying, I have given the Levites as a gift to Aaron and his sons from among the children of Israel to do the work for the children of Israel in the tabernacle of meeting, and to make atonement for the children of Israel, that there may be no plague among the children of Israel when the children of Israel come near the sanctuary. Beautiful, because Ephesians chapter 4 says this. Ephesians chapter 4, this is saying that these Levites were given as gifts. Well, here's us in Ephesians chapter 4. I'll read a bit of this. Ephesians chapter 4, Paul, I therefore, the prisoner of the Lord, beseech you to walk worthy of the calling with which you were called, with all lowliness and gentleness, with long suffering, bearing with one another in love. I used to read this so religiously. Now I'm really like that. God, wow, amen. I want to do that. And I'm praying for that. Keep asking now for love. Help me to walk in love. Because I'm not great at that, in my own flesh. In fact, I'm one of the worst at it. And I've identified that. And I've gone, God, in my weaknesses, you're strong. So I want to really walk in love. Because the word, this is what it's about, isn't it? Verse 3, endeavouring to keep the unity of the Spirit in the bonds of peace. Shalom. There is one body and one Spirit, just as you were called in one hope of your calling, one Lord, one faith, one baptism, one God and Father of all, who is above all and through all and in you all. Verse 7, this is the point. But to each one of us grace was given, according to the measure of the Messiah's gift. Therefore, he says, this is, we might read this later, we should do Psalm 68. We'll read it after, Psalm 68. Therefore, he says in Psalm 68, when he ascended on high, he led captivity captive and gave gifts to men. This is what it's on about. When Yeshua rose from the dead, and when Yeshua ascended to heaven, he poured out the Holy Spirit in him. And we read about it on Sunday at Shavuot, that the Holy Spirit was given as a gift. And he has given that gift to men. And the Holy Spirit has been given as a gift to us. And now it says this. Well, let's just carry on. Now then, verse 9. He ascended. What does it mean? But that he also first descended into the lower parts of the earth. Yeshua died. He who descended is also the one who ascended far above the heavens, that he might fill all things. And he himself, Yeshua himself, gave some to be apostles. Is there any apostles here? Well, we need some. Sent ones, that's exactly. There should have been every hand up. I'm a sent one. He gave some to be apostles, some prophets. Is there any prophets here? Because we could do with some. Some evangelists. There's some evangelists here, isn't there? There they go. There they go. Get them evangelistic hands up. Some pastors. Any pastors here? And teachers. For.
Put your hand up over there.
For. What's it for? He gave these gifts. He gave the Levites as gifts to Aaron. Well, we took the place of the Levites now, haven't we? We've established that, haven't we? Anyone who is in the Messiah is in the firstborn and is a priest. So we are these gifts now. We could even say we're God's gift. But that might not go down too well, obviously. But you know what I'm saying? I believe that. I believe that God's put a gift in me. And I believe he's it says here, he's done it for everyone. It says in verse 7, to each one of us. That's what it says, you can't hide. So you better find your role in this somewhere.
Does it say desire the gifts?
Yeah, we might even read that in 1 Corinthians 14. Desire is the spiritual gifts, especially that you might prophesy. And if we don't get there later, That's relevant because when God gives the Spirit to the 70 elders, and Moshe says to Joshua, when Joshua was complaining that two of them were carried on in the camp, and Moshe says, "What? I wish everyone would prophesy." And Paul says a similar thing when he says, "I wish you would all speak in tongues, but I wish you even more that you would prophesy." That's what Paul says. It's the same language. So let's no one hide. We're playing religious games if we don't look at this and go, "Well, what's my role here? Who am I in this?" Because this is what it's all for. Verse 12, Ephesians 4, verse 12. He himself has given all these gifts for the equipping of the saints. Well, who's a saint? Who's the only one? I mean, everyone should be saying that. He's given all of these gifts for the equipping of the saints, for the work of ministry. What's that? The ministry of reconciliation, isn't it? We read that the other week, that he has called us into the ministry of reconciliation, and it's almost like God is pleading through us to the world, be reconciled to the Messiah. You're running out of time. You haven't got long left. Be reconciled. Find peace with God. There's one way. The Prince of Peace, Yeshua the Messiah. Amen. And that's the ministry it's on about here. So he has given apostles, prophets, evangelists, pastors and teachers to equip us, all of us, for the ministry of reconciliation, for the edifying of the body of the Messiah, till we all come to the unity of the faith and of the knowledge of the Son of God, to a perfect man, to the measure of the stature of the fullness of the Messiah, that we should no longer be children, tossed to and fro, and carried about with every wind of doctrine, by the trickery of men, in the cunning craftiness of deceitful plotting. I mean, I could carry on reading Ephesians all night, but I'm only tying this in. The Levites were given as a gift, and now we are given as gifts. We are gifts. We have got gifts within us. Desire spiritual gifts, especially like you might prophesy, but the gifts of healings. You know, when we get to, we'll finish off in chapter 12 tonight, even if it's just for a couple of verses, and to pray for one or two of our assembly here, and people that are with us because of sickness, and we are pressing in and really crying out for this now. Father, we really are crying out for these gifts now. You're the one who has told us to desire spiritual gifts. So I pray, Father, that you would wake us up, get us out of our comfort zone, Father, and get us into that place of desiring spiritual gifts for the edifying of your body and for the work of the ministry, so that we can reach people, Lord. Because Paul said, I don't just come with persuasive words and man's wisdom. I come with demonstrations of the power of God and the Spirit. Amen. Oh! Amen. Look at this one, verse 21. I'll just forget verse 20. Then Moses and Aaron and all the congregation, back in chapter 8 now, sorry. Numbers, Bar Midbar, chapter 8. I'm always like this, I just ramble, go all over the place. Chapter 20, back in chapter 8, Numbers 8, chapter 8, verse 20. Verse 20. Thus Moshe and Aaron and all the congregation of the children of Israel did to the Levites according to all that Yah commanded Moshe concerning the Levites. So the children of Israel did to them, and the Levites purified themselves and washed their clothes. Then Aaron presented them like a wave offering. I mean, there's 22,000 of them, and some of the sages of Israel said that Aaron had to pick them up and wave them, which I don't know if that's true. There was 22,000 of them. Aaron must have been like that. You know what I mean? I don't know, but it says that they were presented like a wave offering. And I love that, because to wave, you've got to lift your hands, haven't you? Yeah. And that's what this priesthood is about, isn't it? Yeah. Just like King David said in Psalm 142, let the lifting of my hands be like the evening sacrifice. David was on this. David knew. He was a king, but he knew, I can be a priest as well. Even though that wasn't in the Levitical Torah. That's exactly what Hebrews is teaching. Exactly what Hebrews is teaching. We are part of the Melchizedek priesthood, not the Aaronic. So the Levites purified themselves. Look at this in 1 John. 1 John chapter 3. 1 John chapter 3. Behold what verse 1. 1 John chapter 3. That was fast. Behold what manner of love the Father has bestowed on us, that we shall be called children of God. Therefore, the world doesn't know us, because it didn't know him. Beloved, now we are children of God, and it's not been revealed what we shall be. But we know that when he is revealed, which is going to be soon, oh, he is coming back soon. We'll read Psalm 68 later. We finish at 10, as Justin said. Can't get away with it now because he's back.
You can always ask for it.
Thanks, Justin. So but we know when he is revealed, this is what it says. We will be like him, for we will see him as he is. What did the Levites do? They purified themselves. Well, look at this. 1 John chapter 3, verse 3. Everyone who has this hope, what hope? That he is going to be revealed soon. And when he is revealed, we will be changed and we will be like him. And we'll get new bodies. Oh, it's going to be great. And this is not once upon a time. This is not a fairy story. This is not religion. This is the truth. He is coming and we'll see him and we'll be like him because we'll see him as he is. What a glorious time. It's going to be... but this is why I'm saying, everyone who has this hope in him purifies himself, just like them Levites. Well, we're not Levites now. We're like Melchizedekians or so. We are a royal priesthood. But just like they purified themselves by having our hope fixed on him, we will purify ourselves, it says. Just as he is pure. I know Justin loves this verse. Whoever commits sin also commits lawlessness, lawlessness. And if you want to know the definition of sin, here it is. Sin is lawlessness. I mean, that is easy, isn't it? What's sin? Sin is lawlessness. And anyone who has this hope fixed on him will purify themselves and will get into the Torah. And we'll realise that the ways of God haven't changed. And we'll realise that if you're part of the new covenant, then you are a new creation, aren't you? And if you're a new creation, you've got a new heart. And if you've got a new heart, you've got something written on it. And what's that? God's Torah. I will put a new spirit within you. And I will write my Torah on your heart and on your mind. And will cause you to walk in my ways. That is the new covenant. I mean, that is the new covenant. Anything else is exactly what we read about before in Ephesians, about these crafty, tricky people who come with deception and clever doctrines of men and stupidity like the Torah's being done away with. It's pathetic. It's just religion. Let's get out of it. Hallelujah. Amen. Let's just finish off this chapter. This was last year's word of the week for me. I don't have one every week. And I don't think I've had one since. but here it is again. I've got another one for tonight. Last verse of chapter 8. They were all sanctified, set apart to do the work. Verse 26. That they may minister with their brethren in the tabernacle of meeting, to attend to needs, but they themselves shall do no work. Thus you shall do to the Levites regarding their duties. And this is why I brought this word out. We'll see it again in a minute if we read it. About this job of keeping the charge. Keeping the charge. And that is the word mishmereth. Mishmeret, mishmeret, mishmeret. And it comes from the root of the word shemeh, shmeh, which is keep. Keep the Sabbath. God first said to Adam, keep the garden. Keep the garden. That's how that snake got in there, because Adam wasn't keeping the garden, if you like. Keep the garden, Adam. Keep it. Guard the Sabbath. Guard the month of the Aviv. These are the things that God said to guard. And it's this word, keep the charge. Keep the charge. And then we first saw this, keeping the charge, in Genesis chapter 26, when God, let me just read it, I don't want to make any mistakes. Genesis 26, God said to Isaac, this was, he was talking to Isaac. Chapter 26 of Genesis, and God appeared to Isaac. And he said in verse 4, I will make your descendants multiply as the stars of heaven. Like that psalm you read before. The stars. I will give to your descendants all these lands, and in your seed, Isaac, all the nations shall be blessed. And then he says, because Achev, it's where Jacob gets his name of, on the heels of Achev. Because on the heels of this, because Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge. So Abraham was keeping Mishmeret, was keeping the charge of Yah, way before there was even a Levitical priesthood. Way before the Levitical priesthood had been created, Abraham was keeping the charge. And so as part of the Abrahamic faith, that which we are, it's our job as priests to keep the charge, guard his, it says it clearly, guard the month of the Aviv. Why? Because it's the first month of the year. And if you don't get the first month of the year right, the whole year is going to be all over the place. You're going to be walking around going, what day of the week is it? What month is it? And just be like the rest of the religious people that haven't got onto Yahovah's calendar. Keep the charge of Yah. Priests will do this. Shema, not the Shema here, this Shomeh, guard. First, it's used of when Joseph was kept under guard in prison. Same thing, guard it, protect it, keep the Sabbath. Same word. Chapter 9, we won't do chapter 9. Chapter 9 is the second Passover. That was because Yah told them to keep the Passover at a appointed time. But a couple of fellas turned up and they said that they, in verse 6, that they'd been defiled by a human corpse. Chapter 10, verse 6. Just going to flick through this. They'd been defiled by a human corpse. And so they were not able to keep the Passover. And they came to Moshe and said, how come we can't keep the Passover? And so, I love this, Moshe didn't go, oh, I'll just make something up. He went, hang on, I'll go and inquire what to do from Yah. That's what Moshe did. I'll go and find out the minds of Yah on this. I won't just make it up myself. I'll go and find out. And Moshe went to find out what to do. And Yah said, well, tell you what, for anyone in that category, if you're on a long journey or you've been defiled, if you can't keep the Passover at the right time, you can do it a month later. How good is that? God wants everyone to keep the Passover. And if you can't for some reason, he gives you a second chance a month later. That's chapter 9. Chapter 9. Now let's just get going in verse 15 now. We've got 25 minutes and I want to just try and unpack this. Oh. Chapter 9. Yeah, I'll just read through this quickly and then we've done chapter 10 already. So then we'll go to the next bit. Chapter 9 verse 15. Just reading it now. Now on the day that the tabernacle was raised up, this is going back to Exodus chapter 40 now. It's like going back in time to Exodus chapter 40. And we got told then that it was on the first day of the first month that the tabernacle was raised up. On the day that happened, the cloud, so important to our faith, the cloud covered the tabernacle. The tent of the testimony, from evening until morning, it was above the tabernacle like the appearance of fire. So it was always. The clouds covered it by day, and the appearance of fire by night. Whenever the cloud was taken up from above the tabernacle, after that, the children of Israel would journey. And in the place where the cloud settled, there the children of Israel would pitch their tents. Pitched, I don't know how to explain this other than to just say it as it is, but this word for pitch their tents, pitch, is the very word where we get the word for grace from. It's the word, the same word for pitching the tent is chen, the same word for grace. And that's what, when we're saved by grace, that's what it means. You're saved by pitching your tent with God, by becoming part of the camp, by becoming part of the household of God. That's how you get saved. It doesn't mean you go, oh yeah, come into my life, Lord, nice one, I'll see you in about 40 years, thanks. That's not grace, that's having a laugh. Grace is pitching your tent and knowing I'm part of this family now, I'm part of this camp, and when they go, I'm going with them. That's real grace. Same word. I mean, if it's just what the word says, you've got to take it as it says it. It's what it is. Grace, pitch tent. Verse 18, at the commandments of Yahovah and the children of Israel would journey, and at the commands of Yahovah they would camp. As long as the cloud stayed above the tabernacle, they remained encamped. Even when the cloud continued long, many days above the tabernacle, the children of Israel, here it is, Mishmeret, kept the charge of Yahovah and didn't journey. It just means do what you're told. That's what it said about Abraham. He kept the Torah. How? Moses come years later with the 2 stone tablets. How on earth could Abraham keep the Torah if you didn't have 2 stone tablets? You didn't need 2 stone tablets because it tells you quite clearly. Abraham, listen to what I said. Abraham obeyed my voice, he said to Isaac. That's what he said. Abraham obeyed my voice and kept my charge and walked in my Torah and kept my statutes and kept my ordinances. This is how, by hearing his voice. And this is what God said to Israel in Exodus 19, wasn't it? If you will obey my voice, if you will keep my commandments, I'll make you a holy nation and a special treasure amongst all the earth. Absolutely. Yeah. Well, that's what we are now. That's what Yeshua said. My sheep hear my voice. And that doesn't mean it goes in one ear and out the other. That's the Greek Western way of understanding it. The Hebrew way of understanding here is to obey. To hear is to obey in the Hebrew way of looking at it. That's what James says. Don't deceive yourselves. Don't deceive yourselves being hearers only. If you don't do it, you're blagging yourself. I mean, you're blagging yourself if you don't do it. If you just go, oh, amen. Oh, I know what that scripture is. I can memorise loads of scriptures. I can memorise loads. I've got a good memory. But I'm blagging myself if I just turn up here going, oh, it says that. And oh, he knows the Bible. And doesn't he? Ooh. I'm blagging myself. I'm blagging you if I'm not doing it. And you're blagging yourself and blagging me if you're not doing it. But who cares? You're blagging God if you're just going through the motions. God forbid, and cleanse us of this religion, Lord. Because if I go on one a bit, you know, and I do offend, and I don't mean to offend, you know, but the most person I'm having a go at's me. No, it's me. When I'm going, religion, it's me. I know what I'm like. And I know what everyone's flesh is like. No one's got good flesh. Everyone's got wicked, sinful flesh. And it's dead clever. It's dead clever. It carries on with itself. It goes to church, the flesh, and goes, right, I'm going to church. I want to be in on the action. I want to do it my way. And that's religion. So if you ever think I'm having a go at anyone, it's mainly me, you know, I'm having a go at. Trying to wake myself up and get it. No, because we're prone to religion still. Our flesh loves religion. You know, because then it's in charge, you see. Well, we haven't got to keep the flesh. We've got to keep his charge. Look, you distracted me again. So. I know, but there's a lot to get through here, and Justin's here, so let's hurry up. So look, that's what it keeps saying. And let's let's get into chapter 10. Sorry it's a bit everywhere. I'm trying to stay on track, but this is the point now. Chapter 10. Chapter 10. It's given us all this instructions, and then it tells us in verse 12, the children of Israel, here we go, we're about to start now. The children of Israel set out from the wilderness of Sinai on their journeys when the clouds settled down. Then the clouds settled down in the wilderness of Paran. So verse 13, they started out for the first time according to the command of Yah by the hand of Moshe. And then it goes through what we've already read, the order of the camps. The eastern camp, Judah and Issachar and Zebulun, they were first. And then they would be followed by Reuben and Simeon, etc. And then the Gershonites had to carry, and it's all there. Let's get down to verse 33. Verse 33. So they departed from the mountain of Jehovah on a journey of 3 days. Now this is the part now. They went on a journey for 3 days. This is exactly how this narrative started, if you remember, in Exodus chapter 3. Exodus chapter 3, when Yah was calling Moshe, and he said, Moshe, go and speak to Pharaoh, and say to Pharaoh, let my son go. Israel's my firstborn son. Let my people go on a 3-day journey, that they may worship me. Well, here we go. Here's the 3-day journey. After all this time, this is about a year later now, isn't it? We've been organising, setting up the camp, making all of the stuff, doing all what we've been told for about a year in the wilderness in Sinai. Now they're setting off. And they departed, verse 33, on a 3-day journey. And the ark of the covenant of Jehovah went before them for 3 days' journey to search out a resting place. Now here's the word of the week for this week. And I might not have one for another year. But here it is this week, to search out a resting place. A menucha. Menucha in Hebrew. A menucha. Oh, resting place, resting place. It comes from that word, you know this word, nuach. Nuach, it's like the name for Noah. Noah will bring comfort, so his parents called him Noah. He will bring comfort. No, nuach means to rest. This is what God says in Psalm 95. Today, if you hear his voice, don't harden your heart like they did in the wilderness. And he swore, they will not enter my resting place. They will not enter my menucha. So this is what he's looking for, a resting place. Now, you love this bit, right? Nuach. Noah. This is what it says, isn't it, in Genesis? On the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark rested on Mount Ararat. Now we know quickly that the calendar got changed at the time of Moshe. So the 17th day of the 7th month at the time of Noah is actually the 17th day of the first month in Moses' calendar. So what we can see in Genesis is that the ark rested. He's gone to search out a resting place. Well, the ark found a resting place. It found a resting place on the 17th day of the now first month. And where was the resting place? Ararat. And what does Ararat mean, right?
The curse reversed.
The curse reversed. Now that's what you call the resting place of God. The curse. The curse of sin and death reversed. Amen. What's this got to do with anything? Well, Yeshua died on the 14th day of the month, didn't he? We know that, because he was the Passover Lamb of God, and you kill the lamb on the 14th day. Well, what comes after 3 days later? The 17th day. We've already got the day of Yeshua's resurrection in Scripture. Yeshua rose on the 17th day of the month and reversed the curse on humanity. His resurrection signalled The curse is finished. The curse is defeated. My son died on the 14th month, and 3 days later he rose. It went on a 3-day journey to find a resting place. This is all speaking about the Messiah.
He died for our sins and rose for our justification.
That's our resting place. That's our resting place. And that's what Hebrews chapter 4 is saying. Joshua didn't give them rest. Joshua didn't give them rest. Not the first Joshua, the son of Nun. He didn't give them rest. Hebrews says because if Joshua wasn't giving them rest, what was David on about? In Psalm 95 years later, writing about this still remains a rest. Israel is saying we haven't really come to the place of rest, you know. We haven't got there. There still remains a rest. And that's what Hebrews is teaching. And then it says, strive, which sounds paradoxical, strive to enter that rest. Doesn't mean enter that rest, get your deck chair out and go, oh, sound, I'm going to do it now. No, strive, be diligent to enter his rest. Is that all right? Yeah. I think it's sound. Manuka, beautiful. Verse 34, and the cloud of Yahovah was above them by day when they went out from the camp. So it was, whenever the ark set out, that Moshe said, now can we do that on the camera here? I don't know. Oh, we'll leave it, Jonathan Sam, we'll leave it. I was going to try and show you, thanks to June and Claire for getting me the Hebrew scriptures. You can't, no. Go on, do it if you want. I just want if you watch it on YouTube, you'll see what we're doing this for now. But it's here we're looking at. In the Hebrew scriptures, if you look at the Hebrew scriptures, if you get a Bible off June or Claire for your birthday, or if you get a Hebrew scroll, you'll see this in all the Hebrew scriptures, and I'm sure Jonathan's just focusing on it there and there. You'll have to look at it yourself. But in the Hebrew scriptures, Sam, in the Hebrew scriptures, you'll look at it later, you'll see when this is written, this next verse, verse 35 to the end of verse 36, and the scribes have debated this, and why is this? Because when Moshe wrote this, he'd done a big letter Nun reversed, and at the end of this section, he'd done another letter Nun reversed, like brackets if you will. There's a lot more we could say, but we haven't got time, and I'm not really comfortable with just saying the sage said this, the sage said that, because I don't fully know. But this is what I do know, is that these inverted nuns are to really set this section apart and make us really look at what Moses actually said. And we've already set the stage. It went for a 3-day journey to find a resting place. And we've already mentioned that this is all about the Messiah and his 3-day journey in death to be raised again. Well, look what Moshe says. Whenever the ark set out, Moshe said, rise up, O Yahovah, let your enemies be scattered, and let those who hate you flee before you. And when it rested, he said, return, shuv, like the word repent, return, come back, return, O Yahovah, to the many thousands of Israel. And what I understand from this, well, let me just read Psalm 68. I said we'd go back there. Psalm 68. King David uses this language in Psalm 68. Psalm 68 is a great psalm. We won't read it all. But I've already mentioned verse 18. You have ascended on high. You have led captivity captive. And you have received gifts, it says in Psalm 68. When we read in Ephesians, it says that he has given gifts, because he's ascended now and given the gifts of the Holy Spirit. But that's just beside the point. Psalm 68, let me just get on one. Let God arise. Let his enemies be scattered. Let those who hate him flee before him. As smoke is driven away, so drive them away. As wax melts before the fire, let the wicked perish at the presence of God. Amen. But let the righteous be glad. Let them rejoice before God. Yeah, let them rejoice exceedingly. I love that. Exceedingly. Sing to God. Sing praises to his name. Look, extol him who rides on the clouds. See how this is all connected? The cloud went to seek a place for them. The cloud. What does it say about Yeshua? He will return on the clouds, it says. He's going to return on the clouds. Look what it says. Extol him who rides on the clouds. And here, I love this verse. By his name, Yah. I mean, that's what it says, isn't it? Yah. And if you were reading this in Hebrew, it's Yod, Hey. 2 letters. Yod, Hey, Yah. That's his name. I mean, some people have different ways of saying it. Yahweh. There's all kinds. Yahweh. I know. The greatest scholar I know who can verify what he preaches, coming from the Aleppo Codex, the most reliable of all the Hebrew scriptures, with the vowel pointings in. The name of God is Jehovah, and he says in Jeremiah 16, in these end days he will reveal his name again. But the one we can all agree on is this one, Yah, because it's hallelujah, isn't it? Everyone can say hallelujah. Even a happy Mondays can say hallelujah. Well, it's praise, Yah. It's not hallelujah Adonai. I mean, that's wonderful. If you want to say, oh, hallelujah Adonai, fantastic. That's great as well. Praise Adonai. But if you want to say hallelujah, then you are saying praise Yah. And it says there, extol him who rides on the clouds, by his name, Yah. And rejoice before him. Amen. Right, so last day, half an hour. I'm exhausted. Chapter 11, I wanted to spend most of the night on this, but that's how it goes. Chapter 11 is great. I know, I just blew it again. Father, praise the Lord. You know, I just pray whatever's been said so far, that you will use it, Father, please. But now for the next 5 or 10 minutes, help us to hear and learn. This is what 1 Corinthians chapter 10 says. It's another good time to mention 1 Corinthians chapter 10. Paul says in 1 Corinthians chapter 10, all of this now, all what we're going to read about now, all of this grumbling, all of this complaining, Paul says this was all happened and it was all recorded and written down for you, upon whom the ends of the ages come. So this is it. You really, you know, you need to understand the tabernacle, you need to understand the menorah, and you need to understand everything, but you really need to understand this. Because this is what Paul says. This is written for your instruction now. Because this bit now is the complaining starts now. Look what God's done. It's only a year ago. He brought them out of Egypt. He parted the Red Sea. He's given them water from the rock. He's given manna from heaven. I mean, Psalm 78 is a great psalm. Please read Psalm 78. You know, you were reading it on Monday, Lynn, in the back garden, and I come out and I just read this, and Lynn starts going, I was like, wow. You know, when the Spirit is speaking and going, look. That's why I should have spent more time on it, so sorry. But chapter 11, the complaining starts, and it starts off with the people complaining. It displeased Yah, for Yah heard it, and his anger was aroused, so the fire of Yah burnt amongst them and consumed some in the outskirts of the camp. So you get the picture here. It's all the outsiders on the camp starting to moan, complain. So God destroyed them with fire. God is a consuming fire. But then it says, verse 2, then the people cried out to Moshe, and when Moshe prayed to Yah, the fire was quenched. So he called the name of the place Taberah, because the fire of Yah had burnt amongst them. Now the mixed multitude. And there's a few ways you could look at that, and it was various people from various nations as well as just the children of Israel. But when I read mixed multitude, I read double-minded people. People who are mixed. People who have got half the foot in the world, half the foot in religion. which is the world anyway, more or less. It's like, that's what a mixed multitude is. A gang of people who are double-minded. What we read about in Ephesians, tossed by winds of doctrines. You know, there's some clown now appealing for $54 million to get a new plane. You know, and I'm sure he'll probably get it, but he won't get it out of us. But what I'm saying is, this is what religion is, just doctrines of men, false teachings, dressed up as wisdom of men. But it creates a mixed multitude. It creates double-minded people. And I would just pray for deliverance from that and for purging of that we wouldn't be mixed. We wouldn't be mixed. We wouldn't be tossed by different doctrines. And we just stick to the only doctrine that there is, the Word of God. So these mixed multitude were among them, verse 4, and they yielded to intense craving. So the children of Israel also wept again and said, who will give us flesh to eat? Or I might say meat in your translations, but in Hebrew it's basar. Who will give us basar to eat? Flesh. And this is quite clear. The children of Israel are craving after the flesh. They want flesh. And this is what Paul's saying in Galatians, walk in the Spirit, and you will not fulfill the lusts of the flesh. You've got to walk in the Spirit, or you will fulfill the lusts of the flesh, because the flesh is lusting against the Spirit. The flesh is lusting, and the flesh wants its way. And as I said, it's very clever. Once it knows it's going to religion, it will blend in with religion and get really religious, which is just a waste of time. In fact, it's worse than not going at all, going to religion, as far as I'm concerned. Verse 5, look at them. We remember the fish. You're going to have to give me 5 minutes to finish this off. We remember the fish which we ate freely. They were slaves in Egypt. I mean, they were slaves. And they were saying, oh, we had free fish though. The fish that we ate freely in Egypt, the cucumbers, the melons, the leeks, the onions and the garlic. But now our whole being is dried up. There is nothing at all except this manna before our eyes. Now they're starting to rip the manna. This heavenly provision, they're starting to attack the manna with this complaining. Well, now that's why you need to just give me 5 minutes, because we've got to go forward to the New Testament. We've got to go. Not that we're going to go there, but got to remember John chapter 6. After Yeshua had fed the 5,000 with some fish as well. You know, he also threw some fish in, didn't he? Because they were craving, oh, we want that fish, we have lovely fish. So he gave them a few fish as well. But he broke 5 loaves and fed the 5,000. And then the next day, he explained, didn't he? And he said, look, Moses, he didn't give you the bread from heaven. I am the true bread from heaven. So manna was a picture of Yeshua, wasn't it? The manna was a picture of the Messiah. Because Yeshua said, I am the bread of life. I am the bread that came from heaven. And if you do not eat my flesh, you'll have no life in you. That's what he said. And now they're complaining about the manna. So I have gone, sorry, but you know, you've got to have to read it yourself, the rest of it. A lot of complaining goes on, but let me just go forward to the New Testament and make some sense out of this. And we'll just have to finish off with this. Matthew chapter 15. And I pray you will grasp this now. Matthew chapter 15. What's just happened here? There's been a 3-day journey, hasn't it? 3-day journey. And then the people started to kick off and complain and started to lust after the fish and the food that they got freely in Egypt. I mean, this is what Yeshua said in John 8, when he said, look, abide in my word and let my word abide in you, and then you'll truly be my disciples, and then you will know the truth, and the truth will make you free. And one of the Jews went, what? We're the children of Abraham. We've never been slaves to anyone. It's like, what? We've never been slaves to anyone. How did we start off tonight? Deuteronomy chapter 5. Every Sabbath, remember, you were slaves in Egypt. So whoever piped up in John 8, they clearly weren't keeping the Sabbath, even if they thought they were. They weren't really keeping it. Because if you don't remember every Sabbath that you were a slave in Egypt, you're not keeping the Sabbath. It's part of this faith to remember where we come from, Remember, we were lost. We were without hope in the world. We had no covenant at one time. Now we have got a covenant. So I'm saying all that just to finish off. It's been a 3-day journey. The people are kicking off. They want food from Egypt. Chapter 15 of Matthew, verse 32. You've got to understand, if you do the chronological Gospels, as we will be doing soon here, Yeshua fed the 5,000, and then he fed the 4,000. But this is what it says, verse 32. Now Yeshua called his disciples to himself and said, I have compassion on the multitude, because they have now continued with me 3 days and have nothing to eat. And I don't want to send them away hungry, lest they faint on the way. This is God. This is God. They've been on a 3-day journey, and God is Yeshua. And Yeshua's saying, they've been with me now 3 days, and I've got compassion on them. I actually want to bless them with something to eat. And look what he's going to give them to eat. Then his disciples said to him, this is only a few days after the feeding of the 5,000. Where could we get enough bread in the wilderness to fill such a great multitude? Yeshua said to them, how many loaves do you have? And they said 7, and a few little fish. So he commanded the multitude to sit down on the ground. He took the 7 loaves and the fish and gave thanks. He didn't complain, he gave thanks. And that's exactly what we're meant to be. That's what this priesthood's about, isn't it? Sacrifices of thanksgiving. And Yeshua's doing that here. He took the bread, he took the fish, and he gave thanks. And the disciples gave to the multitude. So they all ate and were filled. And all I'm saying is here, the same God that was in the Old Testament, that took them on a 3-day journey, if only they would have trusted him. Like Psalm 78 says, they were testing him all the time, testing him. And it says in Psalm 78 that he was furious with this. But if they'd have only known who he really was, and here we can see who God really is. Yeshua preempted this and went, they've been with me for 3 days now, and I've got compassion on them. Give them something to eat. That's who he is. He has not brought us here to kill us. This is what the Israelites said. He brought us out here to kill us. He brought us out here to starve us. It's not who he is. Not who he is. So, look, I'm going to finish off. I've got to get this last verse out, because I want to finish now in prayer. Chapter 12. No, we're going to finish right now. Chapter 12, I'm not going to read it all. Chapter 12, the complaining carries on, and it gets that far now, it even gets to Miriam and Aaron. And Miriam starts to slag Moses down, and Aaron is part of it. It takes 2 to tango. If someone starts gossiping with you, just say goodbye. Just say, you know what, I can't talk about this. I'm a child of God, and I'm not going to backbite with you. I'm not going to help you do this. And if you've got to offend that person, then it's better to offend that person than to engage in gossip. Because that's what Miriam and Aaron's doing. And Aaron should have just said to her, Miriam, shut up. Moses is in charge here. God's raised Moses up, Miriam, behave yourself. But Aaron's obviously listening to her. Oh yeah, go on, Miriam. Oh yeah, I'll pray about that, Miriam, yeah. Oh yeah, I'll pray about that, yeah. I'm only telling you now so you can pray about it. Yeah, I'm going to pray about that, Miriam. Nonsense. Rubbish. Do not do it. This is what happens. Miriam contracted leprosy. Head to foot. Leprosy. And this is what I want to get to. Verse 13. Verse 12. Aaron said, please do not let here be as one dead, whose flesh is half consumed when he comes out of his mother's womb. So Moshe cried out to Jehovah. Now, I love the Hebrew, as you know, and I'm learning it a bit. And he said, when you read it in Hebrew, it's one of my favourite words, really, is that, nah, please. Yeah, Moshe says, Elohim, nah, Rapha, nah, Rapha, nah. That's how you read it in Hebrew. Nah, Rapha, nah. And you can translate nah as now or please. So meditate on this yourself. Anyone who's watched us, like Angie, who needs serious touch from God, meditate on this. Moses cried out to Jehovah and said, oh, nah, please, or now, healer, nah, please, or now. So meditate on it. What's he saying? The Spirit of God was here. The Spirit of God can reveal this to us, but we have to meditate. What's Moses saying? And it's a combination of this. Please, Lord, please heal her now. Please heal her now. And God said, send her outside the camp for 7 days. She needs 7 days solitude. We've looked at all this, haven't we? This 7 days outside the camp is not being banished. It's the time for intensive care, intensive treatment, one-to-one, coming before the Creator. It takes 7 days sometimes to just get your heart sorted and get this out. Because he said, in this passage, he said, me and Moses, we talk face to face. If you'd have spent the time in it and you see the conversation God has with Moses, he's like that. Moses has with God, he's like that God. You know, this is when he put the Spirit of the Lord on the other 70, because Moses was crying out saying, look God, if you're going to bring this on me, just kill me now, will you? And what a relationship Moses had with God. That's what it means, face to face. Not hidden. No hiding. No two-facedness. Just say it as it is. David said this, I'll take my complaint to Yah. I won't do it behind his back. I'll go straight to his face if I've got something to say. And that's what Moses did. Kill me now, will you? And God said, calm down, Moses. I'll take of the Spirit that's on you and I'll put it on 70 others and they'll help you. And I'll say, we haven't got time to go through it all. So all I'm saying is, sorry for going over it again. Father, please, my sister Angie, my brother Silver, many others, Father, with chronic, long-term illnesses. Please, Lord, heal them now. Nothing's too difficult for you. You said to Moses in this portion, do you think my hand's too short? Do you think my hand's withered? No, your hand is not too short, Lord. You are the same yesterday, today and forever. And we are coming before you to please beseech you, Lord. Heal our brothers and sisters, Lord. Relieve them from their pain. Stretch forth your hand and do mighty signs and wonders, just like you did in Acts, Lord. Just like you responded to your people back then when they prayed this way. Give us great boldness by stretching forth your hand to heal and to perform signs and wonders. In the name of Yeshua, the Messiah of Nazareth. Yivarecha Yahovah vayishmerecha. Ya'eh Yahovah panav elecha veichunecha. Yisa Yahovah panav elecha. Ve'yasem lecha shalom. Yahovah bless you and keep you. Yahovah lift up and make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. Yahovah lift up his countenance upon you and give you shalom. Amen. Hallelujah.